Good evening, everybody. Here we are again, Aging with Grace. It's our weekly show. It's a chat show. It's not just Katie and I gossiping, because it's a chat and a conversation with all of you. It's completely interactive. We've got all our moderators here, so you can send us messages. We'll take them, bring them onto the stage. We've got people calling in, so if you want to phone in, so please be part of this conversation. And it is show number 2, Aging with Grace, or disgracefully, as yes, we like to put it. So today we're talking about friends and friendship. You know, the old Spice Girls, make it last forever, friendship never ends. But sometimes you do outgrow your friends. Mm-hmm. Horrible cases, and I've had loads of women say, you know, friendships have almost become a bit toxic. Yeah. New friends, old friends. So it's all about friendships and how they're important. Yeah. And how they're even more important as we mature and age.
Absolutely. And as well as that tonight, we're also, in fact, it's me, which I always think is a really great advert, because if I can do my makeup, anybody can do their makeup. So if you hang around towards the end, we are going to do a summer glow, get a really natural tan, because if you're anything like us, and we're constantly saying this, we've always got factor 50 on our faces, but we quite like a nice little tan on our bodies. And then what ends up is we have a nice, like really pale face, and then we've got brown arms. So this is really great for adding that natural glow whenever you need it, to the level that you want it as well, isn't it really? So yeah, we'll be doing that later on. So do stick around to find out more about all the bronzing things, which is perfect for a day like today.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And we have a special treat and offer for everybody.
Ooh,
so
exciting.
Let's talk friends and friendship.
Yes.
And I was really thinking about it, and obviously I wrote those sort of 2 articles, and I was thinking about this. My friends when I was younger were so important. They were my life, mm-hmm, because I didn't have a life outside of my friendships. You know, I wasn't married, I didn't have kids, work, career. But as I've aged, life takes over. Absolutely. The balance between family, parents, grandparents, work, life means you're much busier. Yeah. But what's really interesting is they're still a priority, and I think as I've aged and got more mature, those friendships are almost more important to me. They're deeper, mm-hmm, to me now, and I think they really anchor me and my life. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it'd be interesting to know what you think on that.
Well, I'm just going to start us off, really, in that way, that lockdown. How have you found it harder during lockdown? Because you've got these very special friends that they're very important to you, and as you've just said, more important than ever. Has lockdown affected that in any way?
Yeah, for sure. I think University College of London did some research, and the research showed that 22% of people felt their relationships, friendships, not that they were tested, but much more difficult, yeah, to connect. Absolutely. They sort of deteriorated. And actually at a time when you probably needed them more. So we were more creative doing Zooms and with a glass of wine, or, you know, that one, let's go out for a walk, which was really important. You know, walk the dog, catch up with a friend. But definitely, I think the impact of that. And what's interesting is how I don't know, it's hard to explain. It's really hard to explain, but because you're you're on your own in your family unit and your bubble, you don't have access to as much or pretty much most of your friendship group, you do become more, not resilient, but a little bit more independent. Mm-hmm. And I think you start questioning friends and friendships.
And their place.
And their sort of role. But for me personally, I missed, because my friends anchor my whole life. I love my family, all of that, but my friendships are sort of You choose them, don't you? You know that
Yes,
wonderful
they're
phrase?
Yeah, the family that you choose.
They're the family that you choose, and they anchor me, and I feel quite protective over them.
Mm-hmm.
So I really, really missed connecting with my friends, and I'm a people person, so I need people around me, and I need my friendships. So
I think for me, in a way, I'm a bit different in that I am a very independent person. I always have been. I've got an amazing bunch of friends. I'm not saying that in any way, but I think I always thought of myself as well as being quite an extrovert person, and that I only recharge by being with people. Like you've just said, I'm a people person, and absolutely, I talk non-stop when I'm with someone.
really, never noticed that
No,
before.
no. But yeah, you have to shut me up. But I actually discovered during lockdown, I actually started questioning, am I an extrovert? Actually, do I need people? I'm really quite happy in this house, and you know, I've got a lovely family, I've got a lovely house, got a lovely dog, take her for a walk. And I actually was questioning my friendships, not as in are they good, but just like Katie, you're someone I don't recognise.
Yeah, it's so interesting.
Yeah, it's so I do love my friends, but in a way, on the couple of times where, you know, like when all of a sudden we could have 6 people in the garden or something like that, everyone came round and we did talk about it, but I'd like sit there and I'd be a bit, I've forgotten how to socialise. And I'm like, this is so weird. So like, I think, I know it's affected us all in different ways, but for me, it just made me question, am I the person that I always thought I was?
Yeah, it's really interesting because the introvert extrovert isn't you're outgoing or you're not. It is where you get your energy from. So if you're an introvert, you're happy in your own company and you get your energy from your own company. If you're an extrovert, and when I did my Myers-Briggs, I'm extreme extrovert in this one area.
Right.
And it means I get energy from people.
Yeah.
So you put me in a room with people, you put me among my friends, I love it. The buzz, the energy, I just love it. So when we came out of the sort of semi-lockdown, you could have 6 in the garden. First thing I did was organise friends, let's do this, let's do that. And I'm known as the party organiser.
I knew you were going to say that.
Always the one who's organising this. In fact, I organised a little thing in London and you came down for it. So I couldn't wait to get out and be among my friends and people and you know, even with my teenage girls, I love being with their mums and, you know, their friends. I love people. And, you know, that nature nurture, where does it come from? My mother was Portuguese. You know, that Mediterranean, it's all about family, it's all about people. And I grew up with an open house, people coming through all the time. And funnily enough, all around food, because that's how that's
my kind of woman.
She was amazing. So for me, I get real energy and a boost. So lockdown from that perspective was really hard for me.
But you see what I mean? Like, because if you'd have asked me end of 2019, I was that extrovert. I recharged by being with people. And yet now, I'm not so sure. I seem to have developed this skill now to recharge by myself. And actually, it's not a, oh my God, I must see my friends because I need this buzz. It's actually, I just want to see my friends. And it's not, I mean, we've all gone through quite a few issues. My closest bunch of friends, we've gone through quite a few issues during lockdown. And the first time we got together after this big lockdown, it was actually one's getting divorced. No, seriously, I mean, I'm going to laugh now and I'm not being funny to any of my friends, but one's getting divorced. One's dad had just died and her daughter is with a partner that she really doesn't want her to be with. And another one's stepdaughter has been taken away and is going back to live with her other parent. So literally, it was like a year's worth of emotions came out. So I'm not going to say I felt energized, but I think I just got, you know, you said how they're your bedrock. And I think it was like, for me and my friends, it was, we can finally release some of this that has been building up during all these months. And we can finally talk to someone who's not going to judge me, who's not going to think anything of me.
I think, like, true friends are there in the good times, but they're really there in the bad times. And I think, you know, when you get to the age that we are, you know, life has its ups and its downs. It has its happy moments, but it has a lot of sad moments. It has grief, it has loss, it has sadness, you have divorce, you know, life is hard. So I think what happens is when you go through those times, and your children are there to support you, or your parents are there to support you, or your partner or your husband, but you really turn to those friendships, because I think women speak to women in a language that they understand.
Yeah.
So you don't get that, men are from Mars, women are from Venus, and it's like, he doesn't understand. There's no point even talking to him. I'll talk to a friend. But because you've been through those difficult or sad times, you really value that friendship. And that's why I think for me, they really anchor me. And my friends have helped me get through some really quite painful, devastating periods in my life. So I kind of sort of feel they matter more as you age, because the relationship's much deeper.
Yeah.
There's a stronger, it's not as superficial, and it's not a, where are we going out on Saturday night, and what am I going to wear? Am I going to wear this, and I'm going to wear that?
Yeah.
Saying that though, I still do a
I was
little
going
bit
to say,
of
we
that.
love that as well. No one's saying we can't be that person as well. But what we're saying, and this was funny because one of my friends actually said at this meal where we all poured our heart out, she said, I'm really sorry I didn't call you more during this time. And I said, I'm not that person. I'm not that friend. I don't judge a friend by how much they call me, how many times they text me. Do they respond straight away? For me, we're all living our lives. But what I know is if at 3:30 in one morning, I'm locked out of my house or bawling my eyes out or whatever's happening, I could call any of them and they would come and get me and they would look after me. So it's not about, for me personally, my friendships isn't about how much we see each other. And it's about just having that reassurance to know that they're there when I absolutely need them.
Yeah, it's a security, isn't it? It's knowing that they are there.
Yes.
And, not for everybody, but, I've lost both of my parents. So my parents, that was the place I went. So whatever went on in my life, that is where I went. That's where I felt the most safe. That's where I felt the most secure. That's where I felt I belonged. And that's where I felt unconditionally there were two people who had my back, whatever happened. Yeah. And when that goes, you're like, well, who's
going to catch me when I fall?
Who's going to catch me? And that's why I think friendships are so important. And I wonder, sometimes I think, is it a gender thing? Because I wonder if like male relationships, whether they're more practical and whether they have that same dynamic. But for me, it's very, very reassuring to know exactly what you said. And I've got a handful of friends that I know at 3:30 in the morning, I'm lying on the street in tears going, oh! I can phone them up and they will be there for me. Yeah. And that's, I don't know, it's not belonging. It makes you feel safe.
Yeah. And I think, we all know that children like to feel that safety, but I think even as we grow up, there's that element we still want to feel safe. We want someone who's got our back. We want someone who's going to catch us when we fall. So it's wonderful if you can have it. But can I just say, I didn't get that until my late 30s. I think female friendships can be so toxic. They really can. And they can be so gossipy, so judgmental. I think if you find an absolutely brilliant friend from a young age, I think you've hit the jackpot. Because, we've both got teenage daughters, and I don't know what your teenage daughters are like, but mine have very often got friendship issues. And it may not be major, and it may not be devastating, but when you are a teenage girl, it is devastating because your friends are becoming the family that you choose. They are probably the people that you spend most time with. They are shaping your ideas and forming opinions, and you're having these experiences. You're probably getting drunk for the first time with them. You're having your first boyfriend. I'm not with them, excuse me. You know what I mean? So there's all these firsts, there's all these life experiences. And yet so often, and it makes me quite sad thinking about it because I went through it, and now my daughter's going through it. There's the triangles. Do you know what I mean? There's two friends who are like really, really close, and then they leave you out. And especially now with social media, they see that you're leaving them out. You don't.
Yeah, it's hard.
And that's heartbreaking. And I went through that, and now my daughters are going through that. And so I think if there's one thing I could change about female friendships, it would be that to be easy, just be easy. And if you're not really getting on with someone, then just let them go. And all this coming and Do you know what I mean? I was always the third spoke on a wheel. Secondary school, 2 friends, and I was the third spoke.
Yeah.
University, 2 friends, and I was the third spoke. So,
yeah, it's interesting because, like, when you're younger, you become, and we've all felt that. And actually, I don't think it's just age. Sometimes you can meet someone and there is a connection, a little bit like you and I. I mean, the amount of times we've met, there was definitely a connection, sort of kindred spirits, and that's happened in the past. You're like, wow, this person really gets me.
Yeah.
You're connected, you're bonded, you might work together, whatever it is. And then over a period of time, that friendship wanes. Not through any fault of any individual, but like any relationship, sometimes they continue the test of time, and sometimes relationships, you outgrow them. Yeah. So forget even about it becoming toxic, but you just outgrow them, or your life changes, or you're in a life stage that's different to that person, whatever it is. So I think when you're younger, that really impacts you, and you take it really very hardly. It's very upsetting. And I used to feel sad, that sense of loss and grief. But I think what happens as you age, you see more friendships sort of come and go, and it is sad, and there is a grieving process, but you know what, that's okay too. So I've got friends I met through, say, my daughter's school, and in that period of that school period, I saw them all the time. So circumstance, kids bond together. But then, you know, kids move on and they do different things, or move away, or whatever it is, and you just think those friendships were so intense, they were so important, but they've dissipated.
Just run their course.
I think and I think as you mature, it's not as painful, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I think it's a normal part of life. I mean, there's an expression, is it friends for a reason, friends for a season, friends for a lifetime. So some people will be here just for a short period of time, and it will be brilliant. Like I'm thinking about now, when I was going through my divorce, there was another girl that I worked with who was going through a divorce. So we were like this.
Absolutely. So it's circumstance that brings you together.
We brought together. Absolutely. And we were able to go out partying Friday, Saturday nights when my other friends were all like married and with children. And I'd be like, should we go out Friday? Yeah, brilliant. And we had a really intense, probably about 9 to 12 months friendship. And then I found a new partner, she found a new partner, and we sort of kept in touch for a bit, and then it just went, and it wasn't, we fell out with each other. It was like our lives had moved on. We were connected for that reason.
And I think with that, rather than feeling sadness, because sometimes I go through old photos and I go, oh, I remember, I wonder how she's getting on. And actually I've been contacted through LinkedIn. I haven't spoken to her for years and years and years. My best school chum when I was 14, and we connected, and here we are, you know, almost 55 connecting, like 40 odd years later. And it was so nice to connect. So I think when you reminisce like that, or even if you reconnect, it doesn't mean we're going to be best buddies again, but it's a privilege. I think every friendship is a privilege, regardless of whether you've been friends with them for your whole life or just a short period. And I think should be celebrated.
Exactly.
But what I think's interesting, because I've, you know, my oldest friend I met when I was a year old, right? So I've had a relationship with her longer than my own sister.
Right.
Her mum and my mum were best friends. And funnily enough, she lives 20 minutes down the road.
Oh, really?
And she is one of my closest, dearest friends. So that friendship has lasted 54 years. And we have had different lives and life's experiences and different stages, but we're so connected, not just through the period,
the history,
and the memories and the history, because sometimes that's not enough to bring you together. It's because sometimes you need new memories, don't you, to add to the old ones.
You can't survive on what you did when you were 14 for the rest of your life.
So we've always, and I think what's connected us is not just the memories, the history, almost the romanticism that we've known each other for that period of time. We're connected because we have very, very similar outlook. We have a very similar value system. We're both So it has stood
Yes.
the test
Yeah, that's
of time.
different. You've grown together, whereas quite often people grow up and then grow apart.
And I guess it's the same in lots of relationships or, you know, partnerships or marriages. You grow apart. But I think in that situation, how do you, if you've grown apart, if you recognise friendship and you're growing apart, you're not spending the time together, or you're texting, let's catch up, let's have a coffee, and they're permanently busy and you feel you're putting it out there, and it might be vice versa, but they're not really putting the time into the relationship, and you think we are growing apart, or you don't feel they're there for you, you're not that, you know, maybe not as supported, or it's interesting to know what you do in that situation, because I read an article about how do you let a friendship go? How do you say goodbye to a friendship, and how do you let a friend go with grace? And the article I read was about how so many women, because they don't know how to communicate that, they don't want to deal with it.
They
so
don't want that
ghosting.
it's me, it's you speech.
They don't, yeah, absolutely. And it's never you, not me.
me.
It's always a bit of both, and usually it's me. So, but this article was talking about women ghosting their friends. And I just thought, I wonder if that's a modern sort of concept, ghosting. And you don't associate ghosting with
Like just
friends.
friendships.
Yeah, absolutely. And I thought, how sad is that?
But how many of us could really go, should we meet for a coffee? And you finally get this friend I mean, don't get me wrong, I've had difficult conversations with friends during the years, but could I actually sit down and say, I'm breaking up with you, with one of my friends? I'm not sure I could.
I know.
I'm not sure I could. So,
but how do you do it?
I don't know. Luckily,
I guess
I've never really had to do with anyone that I've done. We've sort of naturally,
organically.
Yeah, it's sort of like, well, you're not putting any effort in, so I'm not going to put any effort in, and then it's sort of gone like that. So it's not really ghosting. It's more
organically.
Let's just drift apart.
Maybe the sort of the ghosting is if there's an issue that, you know, you're not happy and you're left thinking, this relationship isn't working for me, I don't think it's working for you, either we resolve it or we go our separate ways. And maybe it's, you know, the Dear John letter, maybe it's a Dear Joanna letter.
Write it down. Put it in writing. I'd like to think if there was an actual issue with a friend, I would talk to them about it.
Yeah, and I think like real, true friendship, you're able, aren't you, to communicate.
You know, when you did that really hurt me. In fact, I've got a friend who, well, a lot of my friends are ex-teachers, so we've learned all about how we talk and we encourage the children in the school to do it, and now we use it on each other. You know, when you did that, well, it made me feel a bit like this. Oh, really? Okay. So,
yeah, it's all the never you, always I.
Yes.
It's not about you this, you that. It's like, I feel like this. And so I hope we've got loads of people commenting and lots to add to this conversation. Otherwise, you and I will be just sitting here talking till midnight. Nia, tell us what's happening, what people say.
We've had lots of people on the chat. It's been quite an interesting topic, and I think friendship's been on lots of people's minds and how friendships have changed over COVID. Rachel says COVID's actually been a good excuse to get rid of some friends and to kind of set some boundaries.
Harsh but true.
Yeah, and perhaps say no, you know, to people that she used to feel like she'd have to say yes to.
I have to agree, because during COVID, there's been many things, like whether it's my career, whether it's about, I don't know, how I'm parenting, whether it's how I've reflected and reviewed on a lot of things during lockdown. So friendships makes total sense that it's an opportunity to actually go, they weren't good for me.
Yeah.
And then Sophie says she's definitely drifted apart from certain friends, especially at different life changes, such as children or jobs. Joanna kind of asks an interesting question that you brought up, Grace. She says, if you're always the one making an effort and asking friends for a coffee and they don't reciprocate, when do you kind of, and you feel like you're always the one giving, when do you kind of stop?
I think, you know, that's so interesting, because I think there's a difference between organisation. I am known as the super organiser. You know, if we're going to a festival, I organise it. If we're going to a party, you know, it's all that sort of stuff. So I organise and that's what I do. But the other side of that is giving is a different thing. So if you're always giving, you're always the one that's putting in all the effort and it's not reciprocated, then it's difficult because you think, what am I getting? And also I think it's when it's a really tricky one because we're all so different as well, aren't we? So, you know, some people are very sympathetic, other people are very empathetic, some people are much more practical, I'm very much an empath, and when someone's in pain or suffering or having troubles, I become hypersensitized to that person. I almost think about them all the time. So I'll always send them, how are you doing? Is there anything I can do? Can I help? So I've got some friends who are really more practical. They wouldn't do that, but that doesn't mean when I'm having problems or issues, it doesn't mean they don't care and they're not thinking about me and they're not there for me. And the other part of that, which I think is really important, is friends, we're not mind readers. I mean, they say that about husbands, you know, you're meant to read my mind, you know, you're my best friend, you're meant to read my mind. We're not mind readers. That's where the onus is on us to put our hand up and say, actually, I need some help. So you can reach out to your friend and say, can you help me? So I think but it is two-way. And I think you know the difference, don't you? When someone's not putting in enough of the effort or spending time with you or is busy doing other stuff, or you sense it, don't you?
You see them out with other people not making an effort with you.
And like, I can't remember her name, but she said, when do you know? And I think we would all have a completely different timeline. You know, someone would be like, well, I've asked you out now, like, you know, I've asked you to go for coffee or whatever 3 times in the last month and you've turned down every single one of those. You obviously don't like me, so I'm going to put my effort in over here. Whereas you'll have someone else who will be doing that for 4 years or whatever without addressing the situation. I know, for me, I really like ease and easy friendships. And once it becomes difficult, once it becomes arduous, once it's heartbreaking, once it's upsetting me, then that's not
distance.
Yeah, that's not for me. That's not a great friendship, because real friends don't.
But that's an interesting point, because it comes into expectations from friends. So I've got some friends who, I've got some friends who are part of my closest friendship groups. Exactly as you said, if it was 3 o'clock in the morning and I phoned them up, I know they would be there, right? But we have very, very busy lives. I might not speak to them for 2 years, even maybe 3 years, because we're at different stages in our lives. But you know what? It doesn't affect me. Yeah. And also, and I love it when you do meet up.
And it's as if you met yesterday.
Though you've been, but I've got another friend who, if she doesn't see you regularly and isn't in contact, or you can't, she's a little bit like me, super organising stuff. And a lot of the times I can't go because I'm busy with the business or I'm travelling and all the rest of it. But she takes it very personally. And she feels that I'm not so much not putting the effort, she just takes it very personally. She feels that it hurts her. So it depends on your expectation, whereas I don't have that expectation.
Ignore me. I'm like, don't bother texting me, don't do this, but I need to know that you're there when I absolutely need you, and that's fine.
Yeah, and also you'll be there when they really need you. Absolutely. And 3 years goes by and you get back together and it's like, they're still very important and you love them. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. But can I just say, like, I'm the one that everyone knows, you send Katie a text and she won't reply. And it's not because I don't love you, it's because I look at it and go, I'll reply to that later. And then 3 days have gone, I went, oh my God, I never replied to the text. And it's nothing, but with the wrong friend, that she could be sitting there crying, and why doesn't Katie like me anymore? It's not, it's just that I was in the middle of something when I read the text and I didn't get back to it. So yes, that's why I can't be friends with people who are a bit hypersensitive like that, because I'm always going to disappoint them.
So I think we've got a call. Who's calling in?
Hi, hello. I was I'm listening to your conversation, and it's just so interesting. And I was I just wanted to say that actually, sort of reaching my 40s and 50s, the relationships that I have with my girlfriends are the best now. But I have said goodbye to one particular relationship in my life, and because we grew apart, and I realised that they actually weren't a very kind person, and I tried to keep that relationship going because of the history, and it was based. There was a sort of lot of competition because when you're young and you're going out with people, there's always a lot of competition. I think in those sort of younger relationships, but as you get older, your girlfriends are just they grow with you and they understand you, and it's so much better. My girlfriends in my 40s and 50s have been so much nicer, kinder, solid relationships, and I'm so grateful for them.
Well said. So that's quite an interesting, isn't it, about...
Have you said goodbye to any of your relationships? Have you ever had to actually do that? Because it was heartbreaking.
It's interesting. I haven't said goodbye to a relationship, but I worked for somebody, and that's slightly different. Female boss, but with it, because it was a small team environment, we were working, friendship, and it all blurred. And it became quite toxic. So it wasn't saying goodbye to a friendship of that I've had for many, many years, but it was a blurred work, friendship. And you spend a lot of time, don't you, sometimes with people that you work outside of the office, children the same age, it just all blurred. And that was really, really hard. And I think some friendships, I don't think they always start off like that, or maybe they do, but a toxic friendship causes so much pain. And I think, as it was Sean on the line, when they're not kind. And I wonder whether, when you've got a friend who's always putting you down, or is always
just
making a dig, or
Under
instead of
the passive
critiquing,
aggressive
criticising,
friend.
or all that sort of negativity. When you're younger, I do think this, when you're younger, you accept more, you put up with more. And I don't know if that's because you're much more insecure and you want to be liked by everybody, but I do think as we age, we get a greater sense of who we are, what you want out of any relationship. And if it's not working for you, or if it's become toxic, and as I said, it might not have started off like that, you are more confident in saying, I'm going to remove myself from this friendship, I think.
And I think it's right to do so. Talking about my teenage daughter, she has a friend exactly like the person you've just described that isn't ever outwardly horrible to her, but makes these little digs, just these little undermining digs. And when you're 16 years old, those little digs really build up. And I'm talking to her about her friendship, and what I'm saying to her actually applies to any age. Real friends do not want to make you feel bad. Real friends do not want to upset you. Real friends don't want to leave you out. Do you know all these things that I've been saying to a teenager? I look at myself and I go, it doesn't matter whether you're 16 or 66. Those rules to friendships apply. And if you are with someone who is making those little digs, or is making you feel bad, or is making you feel insecure, then they're not the right person to have in your life.
Yeah, and I guess it's hard, isn't it? Because you don't know if is it them or is it you? So let's say a friend's not criticising you, but comments on something, and you take it very personally, and it makes you feel bad, and it makes you feel insecure or not good enough. Is that on them or is that on you? And I guess it's a blend, isn't it? There's a sort of resilience in a friendship. And the other thing, and I think it's the same, the closer you are to someone, the more secure and trusted in the friendship. That's when you can truly be yourself. You're not putting on an act. So you get the warts and all, and partner or close friends, it is that idea that, you know, you treat your best friend or your partner as a bit of a punch bag.
Yeah,
because you take
always
it
those
out.
closest to you.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think true friendship stands the test of that. And what I really, really believe, unless you're a really unkind, nasty, selfish, narcissistic person, most of us, I'm sure, I've hurt many of my friends somewhere along the line. I haven't been thoughtful enough, or but it's not intentional.
Yeah.
And I think the difference is, as we mature, and it's not making excuses for someone's behaviour, it's just showing a little bit of understanding and appreciation of where they might be in their life. And I don't think most women are malicious or nasty or out to hurt you.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you're not going to feel hurt or let down by one of your friends.
Yeah.
But I think that's okay as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, so we've got some more. Nia, what's happening? Tell us what else. What else is happening?
We've got like a mix of positive and negative comments about friendships. So Catherine says as she's got older, she's become better at creating distance. So if she feels that she's been disrespected by a friend, she kind of walks away. She's not prepared to kind of put up with it any longer. Diana says COVID's actually been a chance to bond with certain friends a bit more because you've got more time, you're working from home, so you can do that sneaky phone call in the daytime, in between work, and call your friends. Julia sounds like she's been quite ruthless, she feels quite brave. Literally anyone who lowers her energy or makes her feel unhappy, she's just not prepared to be around them anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm always
interesting.
talking about radiators and drains.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's a good
all
way
the
to
time.
look at it.
Are you
Yeah.
a plumber?
No.
A wannabe plumber
No,
or something?
well,
You're talking about radiators
I wish I
and
was
drains.
a plumber. I wish I was. It'll save loads of money. But anyway, radiators and drains. And radiators, you know, lift you up, inspire you, you know, inspire you with loads of positivity. You want to be around those people. And drains do the complete opposite and just sap at your energy. And just, you walk, like, if we're going to talk about the extrovert introvert thing, you know, you're with a drain, you walk away feeling drained and you actually need to go and recharge by being by yourself. So I'm with her.
Yeah,
I'm
if a
with her.
friend
Get rid
makes
of
you
those
feel
drains.
unhappy, then it's not worth it, is it?
And also, you probably, if someone is that drain, you know, you were talking about shared values and things like that. They probably don't have that shared value and system as you do, because otherwise you would be buoyed up by this, I don't know, gossipy conversation or what. I can't stand gossip anymore. I used to. Don't get me wrong. I used to love it. I love it.
It's
And
just,
now, as soon as someone starts going, you know, so-and-so, I'm actually like,
I feel exactly.
I don't want it.
Exactly the same. And the sort of the idea of gossip, I think, has a role to play. I just don't like the word gossip because I think how we deal with life and what life throws at us is by talking. And, you know, the role of watching soaps, the reason why they're so popular is that you mirror and you can see your life unfolding in a soap. So that sort of gossip I can see, you know, last week, I mean, you know, not everybody knows, but I lost my mother-in-law and it was really painful. We talked about it. We talked and talked and talked about it. So I think talking about a situation openly, transparently and honestly among your friends brings a lot of support. Yeah. So if it's positive gossip, does that make sense?
oh,
But negative, where it's
definitely got to
criticising and bitching and moaning and nee is so negative.
Yeah.
It's just, and I think that happens more with female friendships than I do male friendships.
Definitely,
for sure.
because the one thing I was going to say, I'm actually putting this on my Instagram shortly. There's this poet on Instagram, and she just writes very short poetry, a few lines, but it's just spoken to me. And one of the ones is, well, I can't quote it because I don't know it well enough because I haven't learnt it. I should have learnt it before today. I apologise. But it was about, I love to see someone being raw.
Yeah.
That just opens up. And I think that's what we saw in each other. That we weren't skirting around anything and going, oh, and it's nice weather today. And because I'm not very good at chit chat. What I'm really good at is giving you a bit of me quite quickly. And some people won't like that, but those that do, And I'm the same. If I meet someone and they're open and honest and genuine, I'm immediately attracted to
And
them.
I think on that note, true friendships, real friendships, you have to be real, and
Yes.
to be real,
The good, the bad,
you
and the
have
ugly.
to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's so hard for all of us. We don't like being vulnerable because we want to be strong and we want to be resilient. So I feel, and certainly through my life, I've learned to be really vulnerable. And you know what? It's okay.
Yeah.
And your friends will always be there regardless. So
Absolutely. I'm all for vulnerable.
all for vulnerable.
Yes.
That's another conversation, Brené Brown. So now, because we've come to that time, because we
Yes.
could talk about this.
Yes.
You're not really mine anyway. Katie is a very dear friend of mine and a new friend, and we are connected. So,
Gosh, we didn't even get on to new friends, did we? We've got so much to say on
yeah,
this.
I've only known you about 5
Yeah,
minutes, but
yeah.
anyway, now we're at that stage, makeup, because last time we got a lot of feedback. Everybody loved the conversation and the chat, but lots of things started to come through about makeup. And of course, we're
wanted
in
to
the
see some
summer.
makeup.
I want to, and lots of questions. So now we're going to do a quick makeup demo. Perfect time of year because it's perfect bronze, ultra natural tan, and how to get a sun-kissed glow. So we're going to go to an ad break, we're going to come back, and then we're going to see Katie looking like a bronzed goddess.
Yes, watch this space.